The Jeffrey Epstein Files, Trump, Judicial Decisions, and Congressional Subpoenas. Introduction. The Jeffrey Epstein case remains one of the most high-profile and controversial criminal investigations in recent American history, intertwining powerful figures, allegations of sex trafficking, and persistent calls for transparency. Recent developments have brought renewed attention to the case, particularly with reports that the Justice Department informed former President Donald Trump in May 2025 that his name appears in investigative files related to Epstein. This revelation, coupled with a federal judge's decision to deny the unsealing of grand jury transcripts and a congressional committee's subpoena of Epstein-related files, has reignited political and public debates. This article explores these events in depth, examining the legal, political, and social implications of the Epstein case, the role of key figures, and the ongoing struggle between transparency and confidentiality. Background: the Jeffrey Epstein case. Jeffrey Epstein, a financier and convicted sex offender, was a figure whose connections spanned global elites, including politicians, business leaders, and celebrities. His criminal activities, centered around allegations of sex trafficking and abuse of minors, came under intense scrutiny in the 2000s and 2010s. In 2008, Epstein secured a controversial plea deal in Florida, pleading guilty to state charges of soliciting prostitution from a minor, resulting in a lenient 13-month sentence. This deal, widely criticized for its leniency, allowed Epstein to avoid federal charges despite evidence suggesting he harmed over 1,000 victims. Epstein's case resurfaced in 2019 when he was indicted on federal sex trafficking charges in New York. However, he died by suicide in a Manhattan jail cell before his trial, a death that fueled widespread conspiracy theories. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted in 2021 of sex trafficking and is serving a 20-year sentence. The Epstein case has since been a lightning rod for public outrage, with many demanding the release of documents that could reveal the extent of his network and potential accomplices. The Justice Department's notification to Trump. In May 2025, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi reportedly informed former President Donald Trump that his name appeared multiple times in Justice Department files related to Epstein's investigations. According to reports from The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, and CNN, this disclosure occurred during a routine briefing. The reports emphasized that Trump's inclusion in the files does not imply wrongdoing, as the documents contain references to many high-profile individuals. Trump and Epstein had a documented relationship in the 1990s and early 2000s, with Trump once describing Epstein as a terrific guy who liked women on the younger side. However, Trump has stated they had a falling out around 2004, and he later banned Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago club for inappropriate behavior. The White House, through spokesperson Stephen Chung, dismissed reports of Trump's inclusion in the files as fake news, but later clarified that the administration was not denying the references to Trump. Instead, they noted that Trump's name appeared in a tranche of materials released in February 2025 for conservative influencers. The revelation has intensified scrutiny on Trump, particularly among his supporters, who have long speculated about Epstein's connections to powerful figures. The Justice Department's decision to inform Trump privately, followed by their public acknowledgement of his inclusion, has raised questions about transparency and the handling of sensitive information. This development also comes in the context of a controversial Wall Street Journal report alleging Trump sent a bawdy birthday letter to Epstein in 2003, which Trump has vehemently denied, filing a $10 billion libel lawsuit against the newspaper, its publisher, and News Corp founder Rupert Murdoch. Judge Robin Rosenberg's ruling. On July 23, 2025, U.S. District Judge Robin Rosenberg, an Obama appointee, denied the Justice Department's request to unseal grand jury transcripts from federal investigations into Epstein conducted in West Palm Beach, Florida, in 2005 and 2007. The Justice Department, under Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, had argued that the extensive public interest in the Epstein case and the expiration of rationales for grand jury secrecy justified the release. However, Judge Rosenberg ruled that her hands were tied due to strict 11th Circuit Court of Appeals precedents governing grand jury secrecy. In her 12-page opinion, Rosenberg noted that federal court rules allow disclosure of grand jury materials only under limited exceptions, none of which applied to the Justice Department's rationale of public interest. She also rejected a request to transfer the motion to Manhattan Federal Court, where the Second Circuit has more lenient standards for unsealing grand jury records. Rosenberg's decision was a significant setback for the Trump administration, which had faced mounting pressure from supporters to release Epstein-related materials following a July 6, 2025, Justice Department and FBI memo stating no further disclosures were warranted. The ruling sparked varied reactions. Some, including posts on X, suggested it was a strategic move by Trump to deflect responsibility, as Rosenberg's decision was legally predictable given the 11th Circuit's strict stance. Others criticized Rosenberg, with some posts implying bias due to her appointment by Obama. However, legal experts emphasized that her ruling aligned with established precedent, and the Justice Department's request did not meet the narrow criteria for unsealing. Congressional subpoena efforts. The Epstein case has also created political friction in Congress, culminating in a House Oversight Subcommittee's vote on July 23, 2025, to subpoena the Justice Department for its Epstein files. The vote, which passed 8-2 with 3 Republicans, Nancy Mace, Scott Perry, and Brian Jack, joining 5 Democrats, reflected bipartisan frustration with the lack of transparency. The subcommittee also issued a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell to testify remotely from prison on August 11, 2025, a move initiated by committee chairman James Comer. The subpoena vote came amid tensions within the Republican Party. House Speaker Mike Johnson, facing pressure from both Democrats and MAGA supporters, canceled votes and adjourned Congress early for its August recess to avoid further contentious debates on the Epstein matter. Democrats, including Reps. Robert Garcia and Summer Lee, capitalized on the issue, accusing Republicans of obstructing transparency and questioning what Trump might be hiding. The committee agreed to redact victim information but rejected a Republican proposal to limit the subpoena to credible information, a term Trump had used in public statements. The subpoena for Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year sentence for her role in Epstein's crimes, aims to extract additional information about Epstein's network. The Justice Department has also expressed interest in interviewing Maxwell, with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche planning a meeting to discuss her knowledge of the case. These efforts underscore the ongoing quest for answers about Epstein's activities and potential accomplices. Legal and political implications. Legal context of grand jury secrecy. Grand jury proceedings are governed by Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, which mandates secrecy to protect witnesses, victims, and the integrity of investigations. The 11th Circuit, which oversees Florida, has a stringent interpretation, allowing disclosure only in narrow circumstances, such as when needed for another judicial proceeding. The Second Circuit, covering New York, is more flexible, recognizing historical interest and the passage of time as factors for unsealing. This contrast explains why similar Justice Department requests are pending in New York, where judges are taking a more methodical approach, requiring additional arguments and input from Epstein's and Maxwell's representatives by August 5, 2025. Judge Rosenberg's ruling highlighted the legal constraints on unsealing grand jury transcripts, noting that the Justice Department conceded her limited authority. Critics argue this decision protects powerful figures named in the files, while supporters of the ruling emphasize the importance of maintaining grand jury confidentiality to safeguard ongoing investigations and victim privacy. Political fallout. The Epstein case has been a political minefield for Trump, whose administration has faced criticism from both supporters and opponents. MAGA supporters, fueled by years of conspiracy theories about Epstein's client list, have demanded full disclosure, believing it could expose a deep state protecting elites. The Justice Department's July 6 memo, which stated no client list exists and no further charges would be pursued, sparked outrage among these supporters, prompting Trump to direct Bondi to seek the unsealing of grand jury transcripts. Democrats have seized on the issue to question Trump's ties to Epstein, with figures like Senator Adam Schiff calling for Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senate Democratic Whip Dick Durbin has raised concerns about reports that FBI personnel were instructed to flag records mentioning Trump, suggesting potential interference. These accusations have intensified the partisan divide, with Democrats framing the Epstein files as a matter of accountability and Republicans accusing the opposition of exploiting the issue for political gain. The congressional subpoena reflects a rare bipartisan push, driven by public demand for transparency. However, the early adjournment of Congress by Speaker Johnson indicates the sensitivity of the issue within the Republican Party, where internal divisions between moderates and MAGA loyalists are evident. The subpoena's success depends on Chairman Comer's approval, adding uncertainty to the process. Public and media reaction. The Epstein case has long been a focal point for conspiracy theories, amplified by social media platforms like X. Posts following Rosenberg's ruling expressed frustration, with some users accusing the judge of protecting powerful interests or implying political bias. Others suggested Trump's push to unseal the transcripts was a calculated move to shift blame to the judiciary. These sentiments reflect the polarized public discourse surrounding the case, where trust in institutions is low, and speculation about Epstein's connections runs rampant. Media coverage has been extensive, with outlets like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and Reuters reporting on Trump's inclusion in the files and the legal battles over the transcripts. The Wall Street Journal's report on the alleged 2003 letter drew particular attention, prompting Trump's libel lawsuit and denials. The media's focus on Trump's past relationship with Epstein, including photos from 2000 showing them together with Melania Knauss and Ghislaine Maxwell, has kept the story in the headlines, fueling public curiosity and debate.